They say life's most important meetings happen when you least expect them, and sometimes, when you're at your lowest, help comes from the last person you'd ever imagine. On a cold, foggy evening, a man with everything lost all control on a lonely mountain road. What happened next changed his and his daughter's life forever. It was supposed to be a simple drive, a weekend getaway, just him and his little girl. Ryan Carter, a 42-year-old single dad and CEO of a booming tech company, had promised his 9-year-old daughter Emma a break from the chaos of city life. He'd been too busy lately, meetings, conferences, shareholders, endless late nights at the office. Emma had grown quiet, her smiles less frequent. The guilt had finally become too much. So, this trip was his way of making things right. The winding mountain road, lined with towering pines and shrouded in mist, was peaceful, almost poetic. Emma had fallen asleep in the back seat, clutching the little stuffed bunny her late mother had given her. Ryan stole a glance at her through the rearview mirror, his chest tightening with emotion. He'd lost his wife, Lily, to cancer 2 years ago, and though he was used to handling boardrooms, parenting alone still left him feeling helpless. Just as his mind drifted into those heavy thoughts, the car jolted, once, twice, and came to a dead stop. The dashboard flickered, smoke curling up from under the hood. Panic crawled into his chest. No signal. No GPS. Just the cold silence of the forest. Ryan got out, scanning the lonely stretch of road. The temperature had started to drop. Emma woke up, rubbing her eyes, her soft voice trembling when she asked, "Daddy, what's wrong?" He forced a smile, covering the growing dread in his heart. "Just car trouble, sweetheart. I'll fix it." But deep down, he knew he couldn't. He wasn't that kind of man. His world was numbers and presentations, not engines and spark plugs. Minutes stretched into hours. The sun dipped behind the trees, and the forest grew darker, more menacing. Ryan wrapped Emma in a spare blanket, trying to stay calm, but inside he was crumbling. The fear of being stranded with his daughter, cold and helpless, gnawed at him. Then, from the dense shadows between the trees, a figure appeared. A girl, no older than 18, dressed in worn flannel, boots, and a knitted hat. She carried a small axe slung across her back, and a cautious but curious look in her eyes. "You stuck?" she asked, her voice plain but kind. Ryan blinked, both surprised and a little wary. "Yeah. Car's dead. No signal. My daughter's freezing." The girl stepped closer, her sharp eyes scanning the vehicle. "You're lucky I came by. Name's Ava. I live just through the trees." She nodded toward the dark forest. "Come on. You can't stay out here all night. Wolves sometimes cross the road." Ryan hesitated. Taking his daughter into the woods with a stranger felt like the kind of thing his rational mind would scream against. But the cold, and the quiet desperation in Emma's eyes, left no room for pride. Ava led them along a narrow path, her confidence in the dark forest both strange and comforting. Finally, they reached a small, rustic cabin, lit only by a crackling wood stove. Simple, but warm. Safe. She handed Emma a cup of hot cocoa and draped a heavy wool blanket over her shoulders, as though it was the most natural thing in the world. Ryan, on the other hand, felt out of place. A man who ruled boardrooms was suddenly nothing more than a scared father, grateful beyond words. That night, while Emma slept peacefully in a makeshift bed, Ryan sat by the fire with Ava. He learned that she lived alone. Her parents had passed years ago. The forest had raised her, taught her everything from fixing engines to finding food. She was as independent as anyone could be, strong, but lonely. Funny, she mused, people come to these mountains looking for peace, but most don't find it. You don't seem like the type who slows down. Ryan's throat tightened. I used to think success meant working harder than everyone else. Turns out, it cost me everything that mattered. My wife, and nearly my daughter too. Ava looked at him, not with pity, but understanding. Sometimes we get so busy building a life that we forget to live it. The words hit him harder than any shareholder meeting ever had. The next morning, Ava hiked back with Ryan to his car, tools slung over her shoulder. With surprising ease, she diagnosed the problem, a loose wire and a dead battery. She showed him how to fix it, her hands working with quiet confidence. When the engine finally roared back to life, Emma cheered, and Ryan stood there, stunned, humbled by the kindness of a stranger who had nothing, but gave everything. Before they left, Ava handed Emma a small wooden charm, carved with the image of a pine tree. For luck, she said simply. Driving back down the mountain, the silence was different. It wasn't heavy, or strained. It was thoughtful. Emma played with the charm in her hands, and Ryan stared at the winding road ahead, realizing that life had just sent him a message he could no longer ignore. A few weeks later, Ryan resigned as CEO. He started his own small company, one where he could work from home, where Emma's laughter wasn't muffled by boardrooms and deadlines. And once every few months, they'd drive back up that mountain, not because the car was broken, but because their hearts had been mended there. Sometimes, the people who save us aren't the ones with power or titles. Sometimes, it's the quiet stranger from the forest who reminds us what truly matters. Because in the end, success isn't measured by wealth or status, it's measured by love, kindness, and the time we give to those who need us most.